All right, let's dive into something that's, well, it's gonna bend your brain a little. We're talking about an idea that sits right on the ragged edge where physics meets philosophy. It's called quantum immortality. And it poses a wild question. What if, from your own point of view, you never ever die?
But before we get into all that quantum weirdness, let's start with a feeling. A feeling I bet you've had. That unsettling feeling of a close call.
Seriously, think about it. That car that missed you by an inch, that weird gut feeling that made you change your plans, that one split-second decision that, looking back, saved your life. It's this strange, almost universal human experience. I mean, listen to this story from someone online. You can just feel the adrenaline in those words, right? For this person, it wasn't just a lucky break. It was a moment so improbable it felt like the universe itself bent around them to keep them going. So, what if these moments aren't just random luck? What if they're a clue? What if every time you've survived something you shouldn't have, you are actually seeing how the universe really works? To even begin to understand that, we've got to go quantum.
Okay, so to really get this, we have to kind of leave our normal everyday world behind for a minute. We need to step into the bizarre world of quantum mechanics, where the rules we're used to just don't apply.
So, down at the teeniest, tiniest level, things get weird. A particle, before you measure it, isn't here or there. It's kind of everywhere it could be, all at once. It's like this blurry cloud of possibilities, just waiting for you to look at it to force it into making a choice. And this is the big difference, right? In our world, it's one thing or another. You flip a coin, it's either heads or tails. Simple. But in the quantum world, it's heads and tails at the exact same time. Every single possibility is real and happening all at once. So, that leads to one of the biggest mysteries in all of science. If you look at that quantum coin and you see heads, what the heck happened to the tails reality that was just there a nanosecond before? Where did it go?
Well, one of the wildest, most mind-bending answers to that question is something called the many worlds interpretation.
According to this idea, the tails reality didn't just vanish. Nope, it branched off. The universe literally split in two. So in one universe, you're looking at heads. But in another, a perfect copy of you in a perfect copy of that universe is looking at tails. Nothing is ever lost. Reality just multiplies. Endlessly. And this isn't some rare thing that happens in a lab. It's happening right now, constantly, everywhere. Every single quantum interaction, from the light hitting your screen to a particle decaying somewhere deep in space, is splitting reality over and over again. This is where it gets really, really personal, because it means there's a universe out there where you turned left instead of right this morning, a universe where you took that job you passed on, an infinite number of you, living out every single possible version of your life. So how does all this lead to immortality? Okay, let's walk through a pretty chilling thought experiment that takes this whole many-world idea to its absolute logical extreme. Picture this. You're in a room. There's a strange machine, a gun, pointed right at your head. But this isn't a normal gun. Its trigger is hooked up to a device that measures a quantum particle. Your life now depends entirely on that one tiny event. The rules are super simple. Every time you pull the trigger, the machine measures the spin of a particle. Let's say it's a 50-50 shot, right? If the spin is down, the gun fires. You're dead. If the spin is up, you just hear a harmless click, and you do it again, and again, and again. Now, imagine your friend is watching from outside the room. For them, the math is easy. 50-50 chance you die on the first pull. After just 10 pulls, the odds of you still being alive are less than 1 in 1,000. They are almost certainly going to see this experiment end very, very badly. But, and here is the absolute core of it, from your perspective, the gun never fires. Why? Because you can't be conscious in a world where you're dead, right? Your stream of consciousness, by definition, has no choice but to follow the path where you survive. Every pulse splits the universe. In one reality, it's over, but your awareness continues in the other reality, the one where you just hear another click. So for you, it just clicks and clicks and clicks forever. Okay, that sounds amazing, right? Like you've just found the ultimate cheat code for life, a superpower. But there's a really dark, disturbing catch to this so-called immortality.
See, some physicists and philosophers argue that consciousness isn't just an on-off switch. It might have a measure. Think of it like a resource, spread out across all these different worlds. And every time you face one of these life or death splits, something happens to that total measure.
So on one hand, you have this idea that you're invincible. You can't die. But the mature reality is, well, it's way darker. A version of you survives, sure, but another version is just gone. You're not becoming a god cheating death. With every click of that gun, your total you-ness across the multiverse gets cut in half. You just become the lone survivor on an increasingly lonely, improbable timeline.
So all of this leaves us with some really, really deep questions. It forces you to question not just life and death, but what it even means to be you.
Think back to those close calls we talked about at the beginning. Was every single one of them a branching point, a moment where, in another world, your story just ended? Is the life you're living right now just the one path that made it through, a tightrope walk over an abyss of other possibilities? You know, some people take this even further. They look at how weird and chaotic the world feels sometimes, and they ask, have we as a species already survived something we shouldn't have? A war, a plague, some global catastrophe. Are we all living on a super, super unlikely timeline just because, well, it's the only one left where we're still here to talk about it?
And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most haunting question of all. If this theory is correct, then your life, the one you're living right this second, is built on the silent deaths of countless other yous. You are the improbable survivor, the one that got lucky over and over and over again. So, who exactly is the you that's listening to this right now? The victor? The lucky one? Or are you just the last one left?